Hello, and welcome to the 31 Day Game. I'm Excellent, and this is my podcast. Today I have a special guest. Not that Rob isn't special, but this guest is my daughter. Hello, Madison.
Hey, how's it going?
It's good.
Good.
So, we're doing the 31 Days of Halloween, Madison.
Yes.
Yes. So, if for the people who have come to this podcast and just now found it, and it is sometime in the later part of October, go ahead if you'd like to and start at the 1st of October because there is content all 31 days. And as an added bonus, up until I might have made a mistake, all 31 videos have something in common. And then I made a mistake. So 30 of the 31 videos
So they
have
might
something in
all have
common.
something in common.
Yeah. 30 of the 31 videos, and I'm leaving some room in case there's somewhere extra, have something in common. You have to pull out your detective skills and deduce what it is. What does it have in common? Is it a common theme? I don't know. Is it a common subject? I don't know. Is it? Is it a common person? Well, I don't think so.
Only way to find out is to listen.
The only way to find out is to pay very, very close attention to the most minute details. And the first person who guesses it will win a gift card to Amazon. Now, if your detective skills fail you, the other way to enter is put your comments below my videos. And anybody who's left a comment is then eligible to win an Amazon gift card. Free money.
Yay, who doesn't love free money? Come on.
I love free money.
I love free money.
So
it's right up there with free food.
Yeah, it is. So if you would like to do that, go ahead and leave your comments. Go ahead and search really, really hard and tell me what is in common with not 31 videos, but 30. And if you're not subscribed and would like to be, please go ahead and do so. If you like this video, and I hope you do, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends, family, ex-husband, neighbor, mortal enemy. I really don't care. Just share it. And if you'd like to be notified when my content goes live, go ahead and click that bell. The winner of the Amazon gift card will be notified on this channel right after the 31 Days of Halloween. Okay, Madison. Today we are talking about lesser known serial killers. And it could be that we're going to be speaking about one, because Madison has a lesser known serial killer that she would like to give us all the details about. Is that true, Madison?
Yes, it is very true. So I like to consider myself somebody who knows a lot about serial killers. I had never heard of this one, so if you have, hey, more power to you. But I didn't, so he was lesser known to me at least.
You sound like you've come from a strange family.
Well, no, I mean, it depends on who you ask. I mean, I don't think...
Don't ask your family, because...
Well, of course, because we're going to tell you, no, this is totally normal. But if you ask, like, somebody else, they might be like, oh, you're weird. Even sometimes Cody's like, ooh, what? But it's okay. He'll, he just needs more time to warm up.
Cody thinks you're taking notes, though. That's the difference.
Right. Yeah. Sometimes I'll be like, do I need to sleep with one eye open in the other room? I'm like, no, it's fine, really. So today we're going to be talking about the torso killer. Named the torso killer primarily because in one of his murders, he actually ended up killing 2 people, and a lot of what was left was their torso. So there you go.
Lovely.
Yeah. Um, and I don't know why I found him super interesting. I did, and so I picked him.
Okay.
So his name is Richard Cottingham. He was born in the Bronx in 1946. So, as far as serial killers go, kind of recent.
Right.
And I found this kind of interesting because I was reading into when he was born, and I know that people have this, nature versus nurture, or can you somehow or another develop the traits to become a serial killer?
We talk about
And
that actually a lot on this channel.
yes, and I know that you and I have had that conversation, and
Mm-hmm.
I think it can be a lot of both, but I also think that injuries may be able to play a part into that, because specifically with Richard Cottingham, at age 4, he was hit by a car, and he had frontal lobe damage. And so I was kind of looking into this, and I found a journalist named Hugh Ainsworth, and he had done some studies and some research that showed that 29% of serial killers were actually accident-prone children.
Well, do you know that Jeffrey Dahmer
Mm-hmm.
had his tubes out, ear tubes,
Mm-hmm.
when he was 3 years old? His parents say that he was a completely normal child.
Right.
Until he had his ear tubes removed, and when he recovered, he was no longer a happy, joyful, sharing, kind child. That he was sullen and sulky and just different, and not in a good way. And as we know in our family, we have somebody who had anesthesia, and that affected them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I heard about that as well. And I was actually listening to a podcast the other day where it was another serial killer, but he had gotten into a motorcycle accident. And he had cited that his motorcycle accident is what caused him to become violent. He was totally normal before then, and even his family was, saying that after this accident where he was supposed to have recovered, he never really did.
And what is the percentage of serial killers that they found with this?
It showed that 29% of serial killers were accident prone. Yeah, and he actually cited that head trauma was the leading injury. He also suggests that psychopathy is a defense mechanism meant to protect the brain from having any more trauma.
Really?
Yeah, and it says it's known to be called injury-induced psychopathy. So your frontal lobe, I guess, has this injury-induced psychopathy, which is actually its own defense mechanism from becoming any more damaged, which is odd because then, you end up going to be a serial killer. So weird, but so Richard's dad ended up actually he worked at MetLife, and so his job caused him in 1958 caused him to move to Rivervale, New Jersey, and he went to high school there, and he wasn't like overly friendly. He wasn't overly popular. He had friends, but he wasn't like known to one group. He wasn't like a nerd or a jock or anything. He didn't really just fit in anywhere specifically. He actually considered himself a manipulative control freak. And he would drop any of his friends who he said didn't do whatever he told them to. He didn't like not having that power over his friends. And in high school, started kind of showing a little bit of defiance, and then ultimately it led to shoplifting. So he would go and he'd shoplift cigarettes and beer and whatever. And, they always start with the small crimes.
Mm-hmm.
Also around this time, he became interested in sadism, specifically, and I guess back in whenever he was high school aged, I guess in the 1950s, he was interested in some very odd things, but specifically like Nazi sadism, which it's not uncommon for serial killers to start out in watching unusual porn or sadism porn or things like that. So that kind of those kind of traits developed while he was in high school. After he graduated, his dad got him a job at MetLife, working on the computers there. And apparently he was doing really well because he was making the modern day equivalent of $120,000 right out of high school.
Wow.
I know. I was like, wow. Well, okay. Unfortunately, he absolutely hated it. He felt it was mundane and routine, and
Well, that's weird though, because it was something he could easily control.
Well, yeah, and I don't know. I guess
he didn't have to show any emotion, and
right. But he just didn't like the routine. I guess wasn't a 9 to 5 kind of person. But for $120,000, I mean,
be one.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like suck it up and just go to work, go home.
Yeah.
So later on, he ended up taking a job at Blue Cross Blue Shield, which upset his father greatly because they were a direct competitor to MetLife.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So things kind of went rocky, and he moved out of his parents' house and he went to Little Ferry, New Jersey. And his parents ended up moving to Florida. So at the age of 19, he was living in New Jersey all by himself.
Oh.
Right. Which is when he started to kill.
Oh, nice. Now that mom and dad are gone.
Yeah, right. Like now
or
that
the
I'm
cat's
all by myself,
away.
I'm just gonna do what I want.
Yawn. I'm bored. Oh, I know.
Mom and dad just moved, so let's start killing people.
Yeah.
Make life interesting. Whatever.
Yeah.
So victim number 1 was Nancy Skiava Vogel, I think is how it's pronounced. She was 29 years old. He started by picking up sex workers based
Don't
on
they
their
all?
well, yeah, because naturally, it's always their hatred for women and
yeah, and they consider
else.
them just disposable.
Well, exactly. He actually later describes his crimes as deserving. He thinks they deserved it.
If you remember, last year we talked about a serial killer that I talked about, a lesser known one who would kill prostitutes, and he did the same thing. He thought, not only did he think he was doing them a favor, but remember there was somebody who owned a business in the neighborhood that they were all being gone, and he was like, good, take out the trash. Remember that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Couldn't believe that I was hearing that.
Exactly. They think they're doing a social justice.
Mm-hmm.
But when you see a lot of times in those serial killers is that they've had rough upbringing, specifically with their mothers, which is where they develop their hatred for women. Whether they were sexually abused by their mom, beaten, their mom maybe was a sex worker, whatever the case may be. But in this case, for whatever reason, yes, absolutely. So this specific killer, though, he had a totally normal childhood, other than being hit by a car.
So did Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yes, and so that's where I feel like back to the
so
nature
did Ted
versus
Bundy,
nurture.
by the way.
Yeah, and a lot of serial killers have very normal childhoods, but then you have John Wayne Gacy, who had like a horrible childhood and grows up to be a terrible.
Yeah, but not only a horrible serial killer, but a very successful businessman.
Yes, a lot of these people, and when I was doing my research, they were talking about what they were finding out at the crime scenes of these specific victims, and he was extraordinarily good at cleaning up any evidence.
Mm.
And they call these controlled killers. These people tend to have average to high intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
Normal family people can hold a job, completely blend in, versus where you have the messy killers over here that tend to be low IQ, social outcasts, kind of just weird, not your normal people. So he definitely tended to be on the controlled side, especially since he was killing for tens of years. Even his own wife, which we'll get into that, never suspected him after all of the red flags that poor woman had. But back to victim number 1. So Nancy apparently caught his eye after he was picking up the sex workers, because he thought, wow, I need to step it up a bit. So she was going to be going to her weekly game of bingo. And
it really?
Yeah.
No, that's all. In all seriousness, she had a weekly game of bingo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like like bunco nights.
Oh,
It was kind of like a bingo night, which whatever. I don't know what they did back in the 50s. Apparently they did bingo in their 20s, by the way. What?
Well, she would have been in her 60s. I mean,
no, she was
no,
29
I mean,
when she
it
was
would
killed.
have been in her. It would have been in the 60s.
Yes, I'm sorry, in the 60s.
Yeah.
Yes, because she was killed October of 1967. So, anyway, before her bingo game, she stops at a mall, and he spots her in the mall and follows her out, and he eventually kills her. Right? He then drives her car to a different location because he thinks, oh, that'll throw the police off. And what's weird to me, though, and I don't know why I found this weird, but he drops her car off in the same city, but then drops her body off in a completely different city.
He wants to throw off the police.
Yeah, I guess
Which,
so.
as it is already, since he's not known to her, he wouldn't even have been a suspect.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, he wasn't a suspect in almost any of these killings. The only reason that they actually know he killed this woman, and they don't even know it for 100% sure, is because he confessed to these after he was in the act of trying to kill his last victim. They don't have any evidence to connect him. Yeah, any physical evidence to connect him to these killings other than his own stories or of these women. And a lot of times they didn't even. Yeah, so.
I mean, if you're gonna do it, that's the way to do it. I mean,
I guess.
I'm not trying to do serial killer school.
We're not encouraging serial killing here, people.
Serial killing 101. But I mean, having a connection to the person.
Tricks. God, that sounds terrible, Mom. If that's the way to do it.
The thing to do is to not kill. You have to kill somebody completely random, because if there is a connection, then that's a bad. You could somehow get caught up and swept up. You know, if they like swab every man they know, we're gonna do a swab. You know, something like that. Then you're like, oh.
Yes, shit. And then you're like, oh well, crap. But,
yeah.
Of course, at this point, back in the 60s, there wasn't DNA evidence, so it was a lot.
No, but they could do blood typing and say that it was he's A positive or whatever like that. That's all they could do. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. And they did end up doing that later with one of his victims. They got some of his semen and found out he was type O, but that's all they really knew about him.
Okay.
So anyway, 2 days later, she was actually found by two 12-year-old girls, which, God, can you imagine?
No, I can't.
No, that's definitely traumatizing. But she was stripped completely naked. She was very obviously beaten, and she was strangled, but he propped her up, kind of like he was like staging the scene. And one of the things that he did that was very odd, that he ends up actually, never mind. One of the things that he did that was odd was he took her clothes and folded them neatly and stuck them under her, which is how they, yeah. He left no forensic evidence. I mean, really, the police had nothing, absolutely nothing to go by. And they knew that she had struggled. She had shown signs of struggle, and actually to the point where, because he left a rope around her neck that he killed her with, and it had actually almost broken because she had struggled with him so hard. And at this point, so he goes back to work, and he's like sweating bullets. He thinks, I'm totally gonna get caught. You know, what am I gonna do? And then as the days go by, he's not getting caught, and the weeks go by, and he's not getting caught, and he thinks, oh, okay, maybe I can start doing this. And he had a friend at Blue Cross Blue Shield that, for whatever reason, they were close, and he felt like he was just going to tell this guy all about his extracurricular activities, that he likes to hire prostitutes, and he has these fantasies of having a sex slave, and starts to get an ego about himself, and actually refers to himself as a winner. And I think that really starts to kind of, the further that he goes, the more he starts getting egotistical about these things. So that's really where it starts, where he thinks, oh, okay, I'm starting to get some power. Which just kind of like is disgusting. His coworkers, obviously, they thought he was weird, because he's bragging about hiring prostitutes and all this weird stuff. But nobody ever suspected him. Everybody just thought, oh, he's the weird guy. But at one point, his murders are on the news, and he takes credit for them in the middle of the office, but everybody thinks he's joking.
Oh, no.
Yeah, he actually, he was like, oh, yeah, well, that was me. And they were like, ah, ha, 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 yeah, whatever, go back to your desk. Completely never suspected anything. Which, of course, then to him, he's like, I can just be as open as I want to these people, and they're just never going to take me seriously.
Right.
But what's also really weird is he was later quoted saying that, in regards to Nancy, that he actually forgot he ever murdered her.
As one does.
Right? It's just weird. How do you not remember killing a whole person? But he just said it was like it never happened, and that he said he goes to a place where he's able to do these things. So I'm assuming he means like mentally he just compartmentalizes, and that's how he's able to commit these horrible murders. But I can't see how you forget. I don't get it.
Just stick it in that mental drawer and lock it.
Yeah, that mental drawer and lock it away, and just never think about it again. Right? So later on, about 8 months later, he moves on to victim number 2, which is Jacqueline Harp. She was 13 years old. She's an 8th grader.
Oh.
Yeah. A lot of these are teenagers or early 20s. Which it got me thinking, and he picks younger women because they're easier to attack. Obviously, as somebody who is trying to feel like he has power over his victims, and he's
not my kids, not you. I took you to karate and said, "Don't come home if you don't win."
If you don't win, you better walk home.
And your what was it called? What was it?
The
You're
Kempo?
yeah, but when you were fighting against somebody.
Oh, sparring.
Yeah, when you guys were sparring, remember I was saying
Yeah. Well, we did
because you
sparring
had
and
to you
grappling.
sparred grown men. I would say if you
Well, yeah,
don't
because
win, don't come home.
they ended up moving me up from the kids to the adults because I was hitting too
And
hard.
then at the adults, they told you to power down.
Yeah, even the adults were like, you need to power down. And I thought, what is the point? Because, like, I understand you're wanting me to go
Yes,
through the
muscle
motions and
memory.
learn the motions, but I want to learn muscle memory to hit somebody because if somebody's going to attack me, I'm not just going to, like, hit them with
The
just the back of
tip.
my hand barely.
Yeah.
Like, no.
Yeah. So if anybody had tried to take you, they would have been taking like uh what's that cute little animal that Dad and I were going, come here.
Oh, a badger?
A badger.
Yeah. Oh my God, look, it's a badger.
Look, is that a badger?
Yeah, and the
So
people you were with were
cute.
like, get in the car. That's a badger.
Yeah.
These badgers don't give a shit. Come on.
Yeah, somebody would have seen you. It was like, oh, she's easy. They would have got their hands on a badger.
Yeah. And depending on who you ask, they probably would have brought me back pretty quickly. They'd have been like, oh God, jeez, it's just not even worth it. Let's drop her back off.
Oh my God, how do you people stand it?
Does she ever shut up? My God. Yeah.
That's
So
funny.
poor little Jacqueline. She's 13 years old. She leaves band practice and she's walking home. Her parents normally are expecting her home by 9. 10 o'clock, Jacqueline does not come home. They call the police and they start a search for her. The next day, they end up finding her a couple blocks over in the woods. Oddly enough, only 25 feet from the road.
Oh
It's
wow.
almost, yeah,
Like he
it's,
wanted to get caught.
yeah. And oddly enough, most serial killers like the attention. And
Oh
some of them
yes.
even get mad if they're not getting media attention.
Oh,
Uh,
that's when they contact the media, and they say that most serial killers will try to put themselves in the investigation. Like, we're going to go
mm-hmm.
out and search for this child, and the person who killed them will be
Yes.
like, I'll volunteer for that.
Yes. Well,
They
and to stay ahead of the investigation as well. It's almost like a
yeah.
thrill.
Yeah, or
And
they will be seen, at the crowd of
mm-hmm.
a home with a violent crime. They can be seen
Yes.
standing behind the tape,
Well, but
and
that also goes hand in hand with them returning back to the scene.
yes.
So they're not only interjecting themselves in the investigation, but they also get that thrill of returning back to the scene. And
Yeah.
and with the attention, that's what BTK did. He started writing letters
Yeah.
to the news stations,
Yeah. So you could get
actually
attention.
upset. Yes, actually upset that he wasn't getting the attention. He was trying to suggest his own name.
Yes.
Like, I want you guys to call me the BTK Strangler. And I'm like, you're really trying. Okay,
Yeah.
that's ego much, but okay.
Yeah. Well, they're narcissistic.
Well, that's the problem. They're wanting the attention to feed their ego,
Right.
which is just disgusting. That's just disgusting. But anyway, they found her body in the woods. She was also strangled, uh, but he actually strangled her with the leather strap that she used to hold her flag from band practice. She was not sexually assaulted, but the police were thinking that it was still sexual in nature because of the violence in her case, because she was severely, severely beaten. And so they were thinking that he was getting sexual gratification from beating her. So he then goes on to victim number 3, almost a year later. So he took some time off, guess to, I don't know, see if he was gonna get caught.
Well, he was married, you said?
Not at this point. No, we'll get to that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because
Because
at this point
sometimes they take time off because, like, they're in jail or, there's a life change or something.
right. Yeah. No, he wasn't married at this point. I think at this point he was only 20, early 20s, 23
Okay.
maybe. Uh, So, victim number 3 was in April of 1969. This was Irene Blaze. She was 18 years old. She was found face down in a river. She was strangled with a wire, so clearly one of his things is strangling.
Mm-hmm.
But she also was not sexually assaulted. Which it seems very odd that he was so into sadism, but then his first few victims weren't sexually assaulted at all. But then later on he does start that. 3 months later, we move on to victim number 4, which is 15-year-old Denise Velasco. She was found strangled. There wasn't very many details on her, probably because they didn't have very much evidence.
And was she a prostitute?
No, none of these women were prostitutes.
Okay.
Up until, let me see, his next victim. Yeah, his next victim, which actually he didn't kill. This is when he actually starts picking up the sex workers and
but his first victim was, but he found her in the mall.
No, she was not a sex worker either.
Oh, I thought she was a sex worker, and then she was going to a bingo.
No. He maybe I worded that wrong. He had started picking up sex workers.
Oh, okay.
And then started progressing to killing, but he didn't start off killing sex workers.
Oh, see, I thought like sex workers were having like a every Tuesday's bingo.
Oh, maybe that's why you were confused. No.
Yes. That's why I was like, that's weird.
No, it was just her regular.
I think
it might have even been church bingo.
Okay, I got it.
So, but he's killed victim number 4, and he's later quoted telling a journalist that he wanted to be the best serial killer ever. Which, he was so meticulous with his crimes that he didn't leave any evidence. And at this point, he's thinking, okay, I've got this down.
You don't want to go half-assed.
Well, I mean, if you're really going to be a serial killer, do you want to be the worst?
Like the worst serial killer ever?
I mean, if you're going to be good in everything that you do, I guess,
If you're going to do it, do your best.
Yeah, and anything, and I guess that apparently includes serial killing, because he was also really good at his job. So he just had that personality, I suppose, that he just wanted to be the best. Yeah, I mean, but he clearly wasn't the best serial killer out there. I mean, he's on my lesser known serial killers list, so he's not that infamous.
Right. There is a serial killer still out there that has never been caught. It's not the BTK. Right? He did get caught. It's somebody else.
Yeah, that was Dennis Rader.
Yeah, there is
Zodiac
somebody else. Got caught. That was Ted Cruz's dad.
Oh, right. I forgot all about that. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I forgot all about that.
I wonder what ever came about that.
The Zodiac was never caught.
That's weird.
Yeah. But hey, I mean, isn't that the ultimate goal, though, is you never want to get caught? Except for some serial killers actually do want to get caught, though, because they know that if they're not, they're going to continue killing. And so that's sometimes why they start getting sloppy.
Yeah, and they want to have their face on TV, and they want to go down with the Jeffrey Dahmers and the Ted Bundys. They want to be known and be talked about, have theses written about them, and be on TV.
And it's so funny because I'm the kind of person who is like, don't give these people attention because it's what they want. Yet here I am talking about them. But like when people,
it's just that your brain can't really process it.
Right. And with mass shooters, that's always been a thing. People are like, don't put them on the news.
Yes,
but it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard not to, because how are you supposed to talk about it? Like, how are you supposed to let people know, hey, this mass shooting just happened?
Well, the thing
Um,
is, I do with my stories when I do something about like, if the killer has been caught, I
mhm.
put their face up for 2 seconds, and then I put only the victims after that. Like,
Well,
like
right.
just
Well, because
like,
ultimately, I feel like giving them all that attention takes away from
yeah,
the victims,
yeah,
which is what they want. They want the attention. It's empowering to them
yeah.
because
Well,
it
you could
still
say
gives them.
something happened. Somebody this initially say their name, but after that, just be like that guy
Yeah,
did these things.
I guess you could always just kind of like bring it up in the news, like, this mass shooting happened. 60 people were killed. We caught the suspect, name blah blah,
Yeah,
and then just never talk about the suspect again, and
yeah,
only talk
and
about the
talk about the
victims.
victims.
Yeah,
Yes,
which I think would be a really good way to go about it because,
because then
like,
they don't get. I wonder if it would deter people if they knew that, like,
they weren't going
if
to get the
all
attention
news
for it.
agencies would just take a vow to say we will
Hmm.
not, we're not even going to put his picture on the news.
Yeah, but then on
There
the
will
other
be
hand,
no
makes
attention.
me it kind of makes me wonder though if that would uh maybe cause people to commit more heinous crimes, so they have to be talked about.
Well, you can talk about them, but don't ever show their picture.
Yeah,
And use their initials.
yeah,
We don't have to know. I mean,
right.
what's more important is the people that they killed. He wants
Yes,
attention,
absolutely.
or she, whatever, wants
Hmm.
the attention. So if it's known that you're not going to get your picture shown, not even in court, like the drawing in court is going to look like Mickey
Like a
Mouse.
circle, like there's just no head.
There's just, there's a circle. I was trying to think of that Jack in the Box clown. It's just that.
uh, just a little sad face,
Yeah,
just
and
nothing.
we're gonna refer to you as your first and last name in the news,
Hmm.
and
Or
you
your
will get,
initials.
that's my your, I'm
Yeah,
sorry, first and last initials, and you will get no notoriety. You will go to prison with no notoriety. You
but it
know,
makes me kind of wonder though, what about the shooters who commit their mass shootings but then kill themselves? They're not there to see themselves get the credit. So what's up with that?
um, um, maybe
I wonder
they,
what the psychological thought process is there.
maybe in some way they know what they did was wrong, or
Maybe
maybe they're
I
too
always
big of pussies to get caught and go to prison.
yeah, well, that's how I am. I am the kind of person that I believe that that is the only instance where suicide really is the chicken shit way out.
The
Like,
thing is though, they're gonna go to a prison, and they're gonna be a hero if they're famous. They're gonna be a hero. So it's weird to me that they would be afraid of going to prison. I guess it depends on who they were, you know,
you feel like they'd be a hero
targeting.
for a mass shooting?
Yeah, because I don't know. I gotta figure out how to word this correctly. I think that because they get so much attention, and they were in jail, people could be like, "Oh my God, my new Sally is,
Oh, like a
you know,
celebrity type thing.
like a celebrity."
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah, a
can see that.
celebrity type deal.
Yeah.
So, um, you know,
Yeah. But I think it
but
depends though, because like,
I say good, saves us a lot of tax dollars.
yeah. Yeah, that's true. Because I mean, if you end up killing yourself, my tax dollars don't go to feeding you for the rest of
Yeah,
your life. So
yeah. I don't know why they do it, but I guess
I guess I'm
we
not going to
don't.
question.
It's
If you want
just
to do that, then go ahead.
cheers, my friend.
Not the shooting. I'm sorry. Let's specify that. If you want to kill yourself afterwards, then you do that.
Yeah,
But I digress. I'm totally off topic.
that's okay. We go down. You should see the rabbit. Rob and I started talking about haunted cemeteries, and the podcast literally started off with the girls and I watched the new Mary Poppins.
I've heard that's really good, by the way, though.
It is very good.
Well,
It is very good. It's very calming, as we know. I have
I think
tad bit of anxiety, and it's very calming.
it's one of your like
So
Prozac movies.
it's one of
Yeah,
those movies that I
that's
call my Prozac movie. Yeah,
that's how I am with Hotel Transylvania 2. I just love it.
I like also like movies like Along Came a Spider
Oh, I
with
haven't seen that one.
with um come on Tracy. Okay, she's one of the Winona Judd's
Ashley
daughter.
Judd.
Yeah, duh.
Ashley.
Okay, Ashley Judd, and then the guy that was on not Sesame Street, maybe it was Sesame Street, but now he's like the voice of God.
Morgan Freeman?
Morgan Freeman, yeah.
Was Morgan Freeman on Sesame Street?
He was on either Sesame Street or the Electric Company. He was on the Electric Company.
Oh. Oh.
That was that was a
Well,
long time ago. The point of the story is those kind of movies are also calming to me for some reason. I don't know.
yeah, I can see that. I mean, mindless, you know.
Yes, mindless.
Yeah, nothing that makes you think.
Exactly.
So anyway, shortly after victim number 4, Miss Denise Velasco, he gets arrested for drunk driving because he decides he's going to drive on the sidewalk instead of the street, which you know, as they tend to do while they're drunk.
Yeah. If you don't like my driving, stay off the
Stay
sidewalk.
off the sidewalk, right? I hear you. So, you know, it's so funny because I was just talking to Maya just yesterday. We were in the car and we were driving around, and this man, older man, driving a Mustang, clearly having some sort of midlife crisis, and not even midlife, late life crisis. He was older.
What's older?
70s.
Yeah. Good for him.
So he's driving. No, he was a total dick, and I'll tell you why. So I'm going down the road, and the city that I live in. Do you know where our Lane Bryant store is?
Yeah.
Okay, so he's pulling out of this parking lot, and he sees me going down the road, 35 miles an hour, right? And he just decides, oh, I'm going to pull out in the middle of the road, but I'm going to turn as slowly as humanly possible. So I honk at him because he deserved it. And I'm driving down the road, and I make it quite a far ways down the road, and he lays on his horn at me.
Oh.
Like a dick, right? So I slow down, and we're approaching a red light, and I'm like, okay, we're about to be stopped right next to each other, you geezer, so come on. And as he's about to stop, the light turns green, and he just like peels out and zooms past me.
You know, like, I think I know everything about this guy already that I need to know.
That's what I thought too. I was like, okay, we all know you got some little man syndrome going on, dude.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm an aggressive driver, so. But I was thinking, I don't even know why am I getting so off topic. Point of the story is, he's arrested for drunk driving, right?
Okay.
And he goes to jail, and he's fined. Back in the 60s, he's fined $50, which is the equivalent now of $350.
Oh, I'm surprised he was fined that much. So you should just put him in the drunk tank, sober him up, and kick him out.
Well, he was drunk driving. I mean,
I know, but that drunk driving back in the old days didn't come with the stigma that it comes with now. Dad and I were just talking about this recently. Like they would they had a drunk tank. You would sleep it off. Then they would say, "Okay, here's your keys."
Sometimes, and now the drunk tank is used for like public intoxication. Like if you're going around and you're being belligerent, they're like, "Let me pick you up, throw you in the drunk tank, get you out."
Yeah, but before it was not considered. I mean, if you lived in the country, forget about it.
Yeah. I
There
wonder
was
why though,
nothing.
because it's still so dangerous. You could have killed somebody.
Well, I know, but we didn't. They didn't. People didn't have their kids in car seats. They smoked like in their in their. They got crawled into their baby's crib and smoking cigarettes.
Gross. Things were
I
so
mean,
different back
it
then.
was. It was. It was. I mean, you know, like
Like some
you
things
gave your
back then were
kids
definite.
alcohol. It just was. It was. It was just completely
Yeah,
different.
yeah. I think
When
some
I
things
remember when
now
they
are
made us
different.
put seatbelts, when the laws came in and you had to wear seatbelts, people were
We're pissed.
furious. Like if I
Yeah,
want to
and
fly out of my windshield, damn it, I'll
let
fly
me
out of
do
my
it.
windshield.
But cars were made of steel back then, so accidents weren't as bad, and so the cars were actually safer
Well, when they passed
back
the
then in
laws,
a
they were still
sense. And
building with the honey. When they made that law, they were still being built like tanks.
that's what I'm saying. Oh
Yeah,
well, yeah, maybe I don't know.
and then
You know,
like you didn't have to wear a helmet, and they just there was a lot less. You do you, and if you feel like killing yourself, and not some cars didn't even have seatbelts.
yeah, the seatbelt thing obviously is a safety precaution, as are a lot of the changes now that weren't back then, like car seats.
Yeah,
It's a
you
safety
could
precaution.
hold your baby in the front seat. It was a lot different. Drink,
But
have a
not in a
beer in
good
your
way.
hand, smoke a cigarette, and nurse your baby at the same time.
Mm,
Yeah,
yes, I think
it's
those are
weird.
changes that were definitely made for the better. Now,
I don't know. I
now
got
that
hooked on cigarettes when I was like 3 or something. No, that's not true. I lied about that.
well,
That's
but
not
you
true.
also have to think cigarettes back then were very different. Cigarettes now have thousands of chemicals in them, and
Oh
cigarettes back
yeah,
then were just
it
tobacco.
was just tobacco. Yes, it was
Yeah,
different. It actually
which
was.
is why you see like these 90-year-old men smoking cigarettes, and they don't have any form of cancer,
Yeah,
and they're like smoking a cigarette till the day they die, and it's just because it was different.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, I guess, whatever.
But
Anyway,
it was just different. If you got caught drunk drinking, if you were 20 years old, 21, and you and the boys went out and had a few beers and you were drunk, they'd pull you over, call your parents, make your parents come bring you home.
right, it wasn't.
It
Well,
wasn't a
especially
thing.
out in the country. I mean, the only person you're probably going to kill is yourself. I mean, there's nobody driving on the roads,
Oh yeah,
and you had less of a chance of maybe hitting somebody else.
yeah, yeah. I mean, you would fly off and hit, fences and shit. But
Well, yeah, but like I said, the only person who would probably be affected by that was the person driving.
yeah, yeah.
Um. So anyway, he goes to jail for like 10 whole days. Um. He's fined his $50, but while he's in jail and has time to
Oh
reflect
gosh.
on his yeah, well, he has time to reflect on his life. He decides, I have no long-term plan. Um, you know, what am I doing with my life? Killing
What
is
am I gonna do
fun.
with my life?
Well, killing is fun and all, but I need to get married. So what does
How
he
am I gonna
do?
retire on killing?
Well, you can't. Duh.
Well,
And I mean, you have to live a seemingly normal life so nobody suspects you. So he's thinking about the end game really, which he's a planner.
he's a
I guess
perfectionist.
yeah, I mean he's detail oriented. What can we say? Not necessarily bad qualities, depending on how they're applied.
True.
Like great qualities for the
Yeah.
workplace, not so great qualities killing people.
We all want our kids to be like that, but we don't need them to be serial killers. You know.
Right. Like you always want your child to be the leader and not heavily influenced, but
Yeah.
like in school and not, running the drug ring
Right.
or like the
Right.
prison gang.
Right.
It's yeah, let's
Yeah. My son,
use your
he
powers
runs
for
a prison
good.
gang.
Right. Right. He's a leader. He's a leader.
They always said he'd be somebody.
And unfortunately, in prison. So of course he's thinking, I need to look normal.
Mm-hmm.
So he gets out of prison and he starts doing some dating, or I'm sorry, jail, and he starts doing some dating, and he meets who would later actually end up being his wife. He meets Janet. They start dating. He takes her on dates to the movies, dinners, whatever. Long story short, in May of 1970, they get married. Very, very, very soon after they get married, like right off the bat, she knows something is off. Because he starts having really violent sexual fantasies where he wants to torture her. And, Janet, like any normal, sane woman, is like, no, maybe not. So,
Yeah.
She's like, okay, this is weird. But things go, kind of normal. It kind of, no killing for a little while. He takes a break, takes some me time. And then in September of 1973, a 17-year-old sex worker, and this is where he starts picking up on the sex workers. 17-year-old girl comes to the police. She is beaten. She was robbed. She was raped. She identifies Richard, and he was arrested. She presses charges. They go to court, but she never shows up. So his charges were dropped, and he just walks off free. Now, clearly, this is not something that you can hide from your wife, because I'm sure his drunk driving, whatever he probably hid from her, the arrest, but she is super upset. She's irate. He somehow convinces her they had the wrong man. I did not do this. Which, isn't very smart. But surprise, she's pregnant. With their first son, who, by the way, was named Blair.
I'm sorry.
I really love the name. I do. We just had this conversation. Yesterday?
Yes, we did.
Yesterday. I really love the name Blair. And I mean, it doesn't help my case that a serial killer's son is named Blair. But
yes, congratulations.
I know. I was like, I have to tell Mom this, but maybe isn't helping my case. But his name was Blair. Then, just 6 months later, in 1974, a 19-year-old sex worker comes up to the police and said, hey, this guy Richard just robbed me and raped me. Now, keep in mind, I forgot to mention, a 17-year-old sex worker, the previous one, she was bitten on her breast to the point where he almost ripped her nipple off.
Oh my god.
Keep that fact in mind. He also, there's a pattern here that a lot of his victims, he mutilates their chest.
Okay.
Almost all of them. So that actually ends up becoming his MO.
Signature.
His modus operandi.
Yes.
Between the mutilation and then the biting, that becomes his thing. Anyway, so 19-year-old girl comes and said that she had been robbed and she was raped. They arrest Richard, and he's charged. Again, this girl doesn't show up to court, and all his charges are dropped. Yeah, I'm like, is this not the luckiest mofo on this planet?
Or is it possible he's doing something to that?
So I thought about this, and I wonder if he's threatening them.
Yes.
Which of course he must not have threatened them at first, because he did go to the police. But I thought maybe he's finding them again later.
Yeah.
And threatening them, like, if you go to the police, I'm going to kill you.
I mean, I
or
would look into that if I was the police. It seems coincidental.
well, right. And at this point, obviously, the police are like, dude, you're garbage. But they can't arrest him because the victims aren't showing up to court. They can't press charges against him.
Oh boy.
And so after this, he's obviously thinking, I'm untouchable. You know, I'm not going to get caught. And then in 1975, him and Janet moved to Lodi, New Jersey, and they have 2 more children. They have another boy and a girl. But at this point, him and Janet are no longer having any form of sexual contact because he's a weirdo. And this goes on for years, and later on, she ends up finding out he's obviously getting it somewhere else. So they move to this house in Lodi, New Jersey, and they have a basement. And he tells Janet, you are under no circumstances allowed in this basement at all, ever.
Well,
Period.
that would be me going to look in the basement.
Well, I mean, I feel like this is just like anybody who hears something like that is like, so you're telling me to go down there.
That's just begging me to go look in your basement.
We obviously know I am defiant. So I'm the kind of person who's like, you're not going to tell me not to go anywhere in my own home. And if I want to go down to the basement, I'm going down to the basement.
I'm going to the basement.
And that is exactly what she did.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's his study. And so, you know, she goes down there and it's obviously a little suspect. She finds women's clothing, women's jewelry, and lots of bondage gear, which of course the clothes and the jewelry are what he's robbed from his sex worker victims, and his mementos from his previous victims that he's killed. Now, in Janet's mind, for whatever reason, I'm sure you know, being in that kind of relationship is mentally different. So she never tells him that she's gone down to his basement, his study, I'm sorry. Like, never leads on that she knows what's down there. But she also thinks to herself, I can't leave. I've got 3 kids. I don't work. How am I going to support myself? I didn't mention anything about family. I don't know if she had family she could go to, friends, nothing. In her mind, she can't leave.
Right.
She also convinces herself that this is not proof that he's cheating on me. You know, I know that he's into some weird stuff, so maybe this is just this thing.
But why would he have it down there, Janet?
And
just
why
out of
would
curiosity.
he want to go in there? You know, and you don't recognize. And some of the things that he actually ends up having down there is like a stuffed animal from one of his victims later. I know, and so I'm like, you know, you don't recognize these things. Like, maybe if they were his wife's things, maybe she could lead on to like he's cross-dressing or you know, whatever else. But these are just random articles of clothing and jewelry. By the way, all his jewelry is worthless. He just steals from these people to steal from them because
they have no value.
Right. You know,
right.
They're sex workers. You know, they're not going to have anything valuable on them. So he just steals them to steal them.
Well, there goes
and
that
I don't
idea.
mean that in a derogatory way. I don't mean, oh, they're just sex workers. I mean, you know, not most sex workers have things of value on
They're
them.
not wealthy.
Exactly. So, like I said, she just is like, this isn't proof that he's cheating on me. So we're just going to go with the flow here. And he, in 1977, he starts having an affair with a 29-year-old nurse named Barbara, which it's really weird because he also starts having an affair with another nurse named Jean. So, you know, like, it's one thing to have an affair with one woman, but he's guess not satisfied. He's like, we're just going to have an affair with 2 women. And this woman actually...
And be married. That's kind of hard to juggle.
Okay, so think about this. He's married. He has 2 mistresses, works a full-time job, and has 3 kids, and still manages to find time to kill people.
Some people are dedicated, Madison.
I was going to say, he is motivated. Another great quality, just not in this situation.
Yeah.
And actually, while he was working at Blue Cross Blue Shield, he was such a good employee that Blue Cross Blue Shield was like, dude, make your own schedule. We don't care when you work.
What?
So, yeah, which is fantastic because, he hated the 9-to-5 schedule. So he started working 3 to 11. So by the time that he got off, it was just in time to start picking up sex workers. He's like, oh, I'm going to get off at 11 because that's when Candy starts walking the street.
I have to change my schedule because the prostitutes come out.
Well, exactly. And I have to go, pick up my girls, and that's when they come out. So the making his own schedule was actually perfect for him. Now, victim number 5 is 26-year-old Marianne Carr, and she's actually one of the older ones. I think there's another one in here. Actually, she's the oldest one. Now that I'm looking at it, because he liked them younger so he could overpower him. But Marianne Carr is an X-ray tech, and one night she gets off work. It's pretty late, and she goes home. Somehow, she ends up out in the parking lot with Richard, and she actually gets in his car and drives off as the neighbors are telling the police. Well, turns out that Janet, his wife, actually used to live in this apartment complex. And so the theory is that he maybe knew her. Because, like his wife used to be her neighbor. And that's why they're thinking that's the only reason she'd leave her apartment at 3 a.m. and go get in a car with this guy. They must have known each other. And even the witness who was talking to the police says that he recognized the guy and thought it was maybe her husband, except for her husband was actually out of town on a business trip. So this was in December of 1977. A couple days later, they actually find her in a motel parking lot. She, like the other victims, is raped, strangled, bitten, and robbed. So he's getting kind of ballsy, just leaving her out in the open like this. But it's in a motel parking lot, and that actually starts becoming a thing. He now is leaving all of his victims in motels. A lot of them at the same motel, which is when police start to think, hey, maybe we have a serial killer. As if
ding ding.
As if the rape, strangling, biting, and robbing isn't enough. But you have to think, a lot of his crimes were back in, I can't remember even what town he was originally, little something, wherever he was from. Where was he from?
Oh,
let's see here.
Yeah, something New Jersey.
Little Ferry.
Little Ferry, that's it.
Yeah, so now that he's moved to Lodi, he's in a different area, so the cops are actually not, they're not connecting the dots because these crimes weren't committed in the same place. But of course, like I said, once he starts leaving them in the same hotel, just months apart, I'm like, oh, hey, maybe this is the same guy. But he leaves no evidence of the crime, so they have nothing to go by. The only thing they basically can do is wait till he has another victim and see if there's any clues left. So after Marianne Carr was murdered, he decides that he is going to start date raping women, but not killing them.
Oh, well, that's always brilliant.
Yes.
We should always leave the witness.
Well, okay. So I unfortunately I didn't write down the name of the date rape drug, but it's a specific one that is actually supposed to erase your memory for 7 hours, is what I read.
Oh, it's that GBH stuff?
Yes, yeah,
GHB or
something.
GHB.
I'm an idiot and didn't write it down. But and sorry, I'm going by my notes. So if you hear like pages flipping and stuff, that's why. There's so much here that I'm like, I'm not gonna remember all of this.
That's okay.
Um he starts date raping women. He met this woman in I think it was like a Ruby Tuesdays. And he's trying to come off as this charming guy, and she's a waitress. This victim has a waitress there, and she sits down with him for a couple drinks. But he keeps asking her over the course of these drinks, "Are you a sex worker?" And she's like, "No, dude. I'm a waitress at Ruby Tuesdays. I'm in my uniform. I work here." Like, no, I work here. Which I don't know. I don't get it. Anyway, so he also then later has a second victim who is also a sex worker, but he tries to pick her up the night prior. And she says, "Hey, dude, look, I'm booked, but here's my number and you can schedule an appointment." And he does, and takes her out for drinks and stuff. And of course, he's drugging them. So he drugs them, he takes them, and some of the victims wake up in the middle of whatever's going on with them. At one point, he beats one of his victims with a garden hose. Yeah, it's really weird, and strangles them, beats them, robs them, sexually assaults them. And one girl woke up in a hospital because she was found in a motel parking lot. The other girl actually wakes up in the motel and calls the police. And for whatever reason, he doesn't kill them. And I think my theory is because he wants to start a panic. Like he wants people to start being afraid of him. And but what's weird to me about this, though, is why drug them so they don't remember? Don't you want them to remember what happened? To be scared, to go tell other people, "Hey, this is happening"?
Maybe he doesn't want them to remember what he looks like, though.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess. But why not wear a mask? Cover your face. And it's also weird, though, because why sex workers? You know, notoriously, police tend to not really investigate sex worker crimes because they don't have families. Nobody reports them missing.
And sex workers generally don't go to the police if something happens.
Well, exactly, which is why they tend to be targets for serial killers, because they attract less attention.
Yeah.
So the whole thing, and it also kind of goes back to, I think it's just a power trip.
Yeah.
He wants to feel like he's powerful, and maybe he thinks that he has power over them. Like, I'm deciding I'm going to let you live.
Right.
As an ego thing. At the same time, he is also making copies of his coworkers' house keys.
Oh no.
Yeah, breaking into their houses and robbing them. He said it made him feel powerful to have something over his coworkers, while simultaneously also avoiding the police at the same time. So he's like, I'm sneaking into my coworkers' homes and robbing them and having something over them and not getting caught, while also fooling the police. Like, I'm just this, magical serial killer who's never going to get caught, and I have all this power, and it's just creepy. Like, I just don't like it. Obviously, like, I just don't like the fact of thinking like somebody's been in my home and taking my things and I don't know it. It's like, obviously just like an invasion of your privacy.
Mm-hmm.
And ironically, for it to be like the guy who's openly confessing in the office, I killed those sex workers, and they're all like, ah, ha, 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 yeah, whatever, you're just weird. And then for them to find out later, ooh, maybe he did kill those people and he's breaking into my house.
Yes.
Like, oh, you were telling the truth, which makes it just even more creepy that you overlooked something that should have been huge red flags.
Yeah.
Because I guess in a perfect world you have all these. Because at this point, some of his murders have already made the news, and I guess knowing what you think, oh my God, how did you not make that connection? Like, you have this creepy office guy who's creepy and talks about hiring the sex workers and wants sex slaves, and then you see these murders on the news and you don't have an inkling of like, maybe this guy did it.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, even his own wife had no idea, even with all her red flags, because he was.
He was arrested twice while they were married for beating these prostitutes.
Yes, and not only beating
she
them,
saw
but
his
study that she was forbidden to go to. And you don't think, oh my God, it's my husband. And she
was just in a river called denial.
Yeah, well, she is yes, and it gets better with her. Keep her in mind. We'll talk. We got more about her. November of 1979, he continues to get more victims. He picks up victim number 6. She's 22-year-old. I don't know how this is pronounced. She was from Kuwait, so bear with me. Didi Gadarzi.
Okay.
I could be totally butchering this, but that's how it's Dida Gadarzi, I think, is actually how it goes.
That's funny because I always say that too. I'm probably butchering this.
Yeah, it's spelled Deedeh. So Dida?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then victim number 7, because he picks these 2 girls up at the same time. She's Jane Doe. She's never identified. Other than she's a teenager.
That makes me sad.
Very, very, very sad. Especially since it was almost actually impossible to identify these bodies. Because he ends up. Well, I'll tell you. They were raped, they were tortured, and they were mutilated. He actually, in this murder, he says that he got bored, and after he killed them, he just wasn't satisfied and thought, I need to take it a step further. How am I going to satisfy myself with this murders, these double murders? Like, he just needed to take it a step further from the rape and the torture. So he cuts off their hands and he cuts off their heads, which is where they're calling him the torso killer, because when they find them, they're burnt, because he covers them in lighter fluid and lights the hotel room on fire. At this point,
nobody's gonna catch you when you're doing that.
Lighting a hotel room on fire?
Yeah.
Right. So they obviously are calling the fire department and the police, like, hey, our motel's on fire. They get there, they put out the fire, they're looking through the crime scene. Like I said, I don't know if I told you this, they never find the hands or the heads because he takes them with him. But he doesn't tell anybody, even when he's confessing to the murders, he doesn't tell them where they are. So they're never found, which is why it was so hard to identify the victims. I don't even really know how they identified the 22-year-old Dida. But oddly enough, and if you think back to his first murder, everything is burnt except for this bathroom in this hotel room, and neatly folded in the bathtub are both of their clothes. And they still don't put it together because that was done in Little Fairy.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're not connecting the dots here.
Right.
At this point, he completely just out of the blue stops talking to Mistress Barbara. Now, Barbara is upset, obviously, because her and Richard have been, at this point, dating for quite a few years. She gets a hold of Janet, and I don't know, I'm assuming it's probably because she's pissed, and she was like, well, I'm going to tell your wife. Yeah, or she could have just maybe found out, like, in searching for him to see if he was okay, found out that he was married and was like, oh God.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, she tells Janet. Janet at this point is furious because she then later finds out about Mistress Jean, and she files for divorce.
I wonder why.
Yeah, right. But it gets worse. So, remember when I told you that Richard, straight out of high school, was making $120,000 a year?
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming he's making much more money now, but is like barely bringing home enough money to feed his family. Which I guess Janet never connects the dots as to like, hey, where's your money going?
This Janet's a real idiot.
She's so stupid, and it progressively gets worse. I mean, I still have even more. So she tracks down where he's spending his money, and surprise, he's spending his money at swingers clubs and gay bars and on hookers, which is so weird, the gay bar thing, because he's not gay and he never kills any men. So where that comes into play makes absolutely no sense to me. I never found anything that said he was gay. And like I said, he never killed any men, I guess, that we know of. But later on, though, she withdraws her divorce papers.
Well, of course.
I don't know why. But she does still move out and takes the kids with her. Which, I mean, why? If you're going to move out and take the kids, just finish the divorce. He doesn't threaten to kill her, by the way, and we'll find this out later, because I thought, oh my God, he must have like threatened her life or something. No. Nope. After this, he is just, this free man doing whatever the heck he wants to, and decides that he's gonna kill victim number 8, which she was found at a Quality Inn motel, which is where she's actually the second victim to be found at this motel, which is where they say, hey, maybe we have a serial killer. The maid was cleaning the bedroom, and she's getting kind of like mad because she's like, I've been cleaning this room for 20 minutes and it still stinks. Well, she goes and she's going back over with the vacuum, and she goes under the bed and bumps into 19-year-old Valerie Ann Street, who is dead. She is, bitten again, to the point where her nipple is also almost bitten off.
Oh my God.
She was tortured and she was strangled. But the police in this case actually get kind of a little bit of a break, and they find a partial fingerprint. Oddly enough, that fingerprint never comes into play. They never identify it. So it just kind of did them no good. Shortly after, he kills victim number 9, 25-year-old Jean Rayner. This one is kind of weird, because instead of biting her and mutilating, well, I guess cutting into her chest like he did with the other victims, he actually slices off both of her breasts and sticks them on the headboard.
No.
Yes. and then sets her body on fire. Leaves
Oh.
the breasts though, which is disgusting. Obviously everything is disgusting, but that one just kind of is gross.
Mm-hmm.
That is his last victim that he kills actually before he gets caught. Have we really been talking for an hour and 22 minutes?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness, I am so sorry.
No, it was fine.
God, I didn't think it was going to take this long. So he then goes and picks up. This is where he gets caught. He picks up 18-year-old Leslie Ann Odell. He takes her to dinner, buys her a steak, says, "Hey, let's go back to the hotel." So when they get there, he starts to get undressed, and she actually sees him kick a gun under the bed.
Uh-oh.
And she thought, oh, well, maybe he brought it because he thinks I'm armed too. Maybe it's just for self-defense. Which, like, red flag number 1, that just gets dismissed. Like, how do you not think that's weird? So he then says, "Let me give you a massage," and she lays face down on the bed.
Don't do it.
I'm like, girl, sus, but okay. He then proceeds to put a knife to her throat, and he handcuffs her hands behind her back. At one point, during his torturing of her, he actually uncuffs her to position her differently. And she sees her moment of opportunity and gets to her feet and grabs the gun. So she's holding Richard at gunpoint, and he lunges towards her, and she goes to shoot him, but surprise, the gun is a fake.
What?
You know those dreams where you're running and you're just not going anywhere, and when you finally get to where you are, you get to a phone and you're like, I'm going to dial 911.
You can't dial 911.
And you're dialing everything but 911, and you're like, oh my God, are you kidding me?
Mm-hmm.
This has to be what she's thinking. I mean,
it has to be. Well, I have dreams sometimes where, like, I'm being attacked, I have to use a gun, and I use the gun, and it, like, never,
jams.
ever, yeah, it never, ever works.
Fires. I have dreams like that too, and in that moment, like, even in your dream, your stomach just sinks.
Yeah.
So, he.
Oh my God.
Right. So he gets her handcuffed again, and in the meantime, he starts torturing her again. But for her specifically, and I say unfortunately, because she survives all of this, keep in mind. And she has to live with this. But he tortures her all night long for hours, to the point where if she passes out, he wakes her back up to keep torturing her. So she's passing out from the pain, and he starts pouring cold water over her to wake her back up, and is like, you're not getting out of this. Luckily for her, somebody had actually heard her screaming at some point and called the police, and the police knock on the door, and he holds the knife to her back, and he says, you are going to tell them you're fine, and if you don't, I'm going to kill you on the spot.
Yeah, good luck.
In front of the cops?
Like, yeah, he's full of shit. As full of shit as that gun.
No kidding. I was like, okay. Right then I would have been like, no, you're not. But okay. So she opens the door, and the cops are obviously saying, hey, somebody said they heard screaming from this room. Are you okay? And as she's telling them yes, she's making like rapid eye movements, like, no, I am not okay. Help.
What's wrong, lady? What's wrong with your eyes?
Yeah, like,
that'd be my luck. Somebody's like, what's wrong with your eyes?
I know,
why
somebody
are you
would
doing
have been like, what are you doing with your eyes? And then I would have, like, really? Do you have to say that out loud? Like,
yeah.
Now, at this point, the cops leave, and she has no clue whether or not they got her signal or not. So
Oh,
she is
no.
freaking out.
Oh, God.
But just a few minutes later, the cops come knocking back on the door and tell him, you have 5 seconds to get this door open.
Nice.
Yeah. So Leslie Ann is like, you got my vibes. Thank God. Now,
Good
of
for
course,
her.
yeah, smart, right? And
Right.
so stupid of this guy, of Richard, to let her speak to the police. He should have
Well, how
answered the
would he have
door.
not? I mean, what if he answers the door and he has no control over her now, and she can start screaming behind him?
Yeah, I guess that's true. I mean, he would have really had to like.
I mean, he should have just slit her throat. I mean,
yeah, or he could have. What
about.
he should have done was knocked her out.
Yeah.
Knocked her out.
Stop her from having the ability to speak.
Exactly. Like, because at this point, also, if she's been tortured for this long, how are the police not like, girl, you look rough? Something's obviously wrong.
Well, she is a hooker, so a prostitute. My bad.
Sorry,
So they
prostitute.
probably
So
see them in all kinds of disarray.
You're probably right.
So.
Anyway, so they're like, knock, knock, we're coming for you. So he's scattering across the room, picking up all of his torture instruments. And
could you hold a moment?
Nobody's home. Like, nothing to see here.
Oh my God.
So he's like scooping up all of his tools, which, dude, leave them. Just get the hell out, which is what he does. He runs out the back, but the police suspected he would do this. And they catch him.
Let me see.
The only way out is at the front of the back, and clearly the police are going to outsmart you. So they did. They arrest him. And in the interrogation room, he says, I have a problem with women. Oh, you think?
We've noticed.
Leslie Ann says, yeah, you sure do. So he goes on to say that these women deserved it, and he justifies his actions because he's just going through a rough time.
Well,
his wife took his kids and she's leaving him, and blah 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 blah. And also, the 2 women that he previously had date raped and just left identify him. So that doesn't help exactly. So he now has 21 counts of rape, robbery, sexual assault with a deadly weapon, unlawful use of a deadly weapon. All this, he's screwed. Now, Miss Janet. Oh, by the way, when they search his house, they have a search warrant. And this is where they find his study, where they find all of his mementos, his bondage gear, his coworkers' house keys.
Oh God! Can you imagine being told that they have to go and tell them? They have to go and say, by the way,
this person has access to your home. And has had access to your home. So if you're missing anything, it's probably this guy.
How frightening.
I know, and that's what I said. Then you think, oh my God, the office weirdo really did this shit.
We were all laughing around the coffee machine, like, he's so weird.
Yeah, we were like, oh my God, this guy needs some help. But
yeah,
he's
you should have been making him your best friend. Is what you should have been doing.
Yeah. Yeah. You should have been, I can't remember the friend's name, the one that he was best friends with. I wonder if he ever made his house key. Who knows? So anyway, they end up finding all of his things, the house keys, the mementos, and that's where they find the stuffed animal from his 19-year-old victim.
Oh.
Now, when he goes to trial, right?
Okay.
And guess who pops up? Janet.
Oh.
Yeah, except for she's supporting him.
She's testifying for him.
She is testifying for him. And by the way, brings her entire family too, because she is just absolutely convinced. Just it's not him. This cannot be right. Which, okay, Miss Janet, let's. You saw the women's clothing. You saw all his bondage stuff. You know that he's spending all his money at these gay bars, swingers clubs. You know he has 2 mistresses. He's not coming home until 4 a.m, drunk off his butt. No explanation for where he's been, except for she says, well, he has to have an alibi because when he wasn't with me, he was with his mistresses.
Oh, God.
He could
Where
not
can
have
I
done it.
find me a wife like this?
That's like she is a ride or die.
She's a ride or die, man.
If you are a serial killer, you need to get you a Janet.
You do.
Get you a Janet, because she is going to see every red flag on the planet and be like, nope, not the right guy.
I need to actually call Janet and see if she'd like to be friends.
Oh, God. I'm like, oh my.
What?
That's like, what a. I mean, it's really like. I just can't wrap my brain around it.
I have a friend
kids.
when my father died who put a sad face on Facebook, and that was all. And this bitch over here is like, where can I help you bury the bodies? That's a friend.
Yeah.
That's a friend.
That's a friend, not somebody
Yeah.
who's just gonna care emoji your Facebook when your father died. By the way,
Yeah,
that's
yeah, that's.
I mean, that's all I have to say about that. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but then you have, your
But
friend.
you have this Janet over here.
Yeah, but you have your friend who has been friends with you since before you even had me, who is still your ride or die. H.
Yes.
Yes, G's
Yes.
mom.
Huh?
G's mom. She has the son that's around my age. Yeah,
Yes.
she is your ride or die. Even you haven't even seen her in 20 plus years.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Get you
she's
a
a
friend
ride or
like
die.
that. Yeah. Get you a Janet.
Yeah, I have a Janet. I seriously do have a Janet. I actually do have a Janet. So I really can't complain.
Yeah. Well, and luckily for Richard, he also had a Janet.
He also has a Janet as well.
I'm like,
there's a hard to come by though.
Well,
maybe your friend E will be your ride or die.
I think so.
You sure as hell are her ride or die.
Yeah, no
A
kidding.
true friend helps
Yeah,
you hide the bodies. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely haven't had to hide any bodies, thank God. But I've had to do some
So
other
you
things
say.
that are. Well, I mean, even if I did, do you think I'm going to admit it? No. Except I could be like Richard and stand in the middle of the office and be like, yeah, those crimes on the news, totally me.
Your friend E might have put 3-day-old sitting in the Texas sun dead fish inside.
Yeah, she did
Wheels.
do that with me, didn't she? Yeah, she was like, hey, I went fishing today. I was like, oh, do you mind letting those sit out for a couple days and then we can
donate it?
Donate it. That was so gross. Yeah, she did do that. That was good. A good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she also did let me crash at her house for a month after S passed away, and I didn't want to go home.
Yes, that's true. I also let you crash at my house.
Yes, you did.
But that was very kind.
was very kind. You know,
You know, my friend, my ride or die friend, I've always made the joke that if I ever ran for president, I either had to make her vice president or, you know, dispose of her.
well, yeah, she knows way too much
Because
about
some
you. I
people
mean,
know too much.
oh yeah, definitely. But you know, it's just so funny. As you know, me being Janet, she thinks I, as a wife, am going to provide an alibi for my husband by saying he was with the mistresses.
It's
He
so,
couldn't have done this.
you know, if that guy did not stay married to her, then he's even crazier than he is.
Yeah, you know, I don't know if they're still married. I didn't read into anything like that. But I do know that in June of 1981, he was convicted of 15 of the 21 counts of rape, murder, attempted murder, all that different stuff. And of course, like the cowardly chicken shit person that he is, 3 days later he attempted suicide.
Oh, did he?
But life is funny, and they took him to the hospital, and he recovered.
You know, I'm torn on that.
You know,
I mean, why?
like
Couldn't
we
they wait a
said,
few minutes?
yeah, you know,
I don't know. I
I
mean, because
just wouldn't want him to have the satisfaction of being able to. He wouldn't see the justice, but then again, I'm like, I don't want my tax dollars to go to you. So,
well, you know, they're not very high up on the food chain. Um, those people, you
right,
know, especially with the 13-year-olds and whatnot. So it could be
yes,
better that he goes to jail, but
it
on the other
could
hand,
be.
I don't know. Just
You know, I don't know. Maybe, he, and actually, funny story. He even escaped
oh God.
prison very briefly. They found him, and he was sentenced to multiple life sentences. But oddly enough, he's actually eligible for parole in 2025. He's hopefully,
Oh, what?
cool. Yeah, what? I
What?
don't know how that worked, but he's 73 years old. He's still in prison. Um, and remember Dita?
Yeah.
She ended up actually having a daughter, and he, I guess, while he was in prison, had some time to reflect, like his brief stint in jail, and started showing remorse. I I think that's a bunch of shit.
He's a
But
psychopath.
he's crazy, and he actually wrote Dita's daughter from prison.
Is this Dita's and his daughter?
No, remember he killed Dita and cut off her head and hands and took them with
Oh.
Jane Doe.
Oh.
Yeah, he wrote her daughter
Oh.
and was like, you know, I'm so sorry for the pain I've caused you in your life, and I don't have the words to describe what
That's
I
like
did.
victimizing her all over again.
Okay, well, this I think this is the theory. Dita, Richard had a type. He tended to go after women who were brown haired, bigger chested, and Dita's daughter happens to fit his type profile. So,
No.
yes, it's the only person he contacted, by the way. He never contacted any of the other victims' families, nothing.
How
So
do
the
you get
theory is,
access to her on the internet?
I honestly have no idea. Um, hey, I'm gonna take just a quick break. The baby is crying.
Well, if you're done, we can wrap it up.
Well, I wanted to tell you let me tell you my theory real quick. I think he
Okay.
contacted her because he was sexually attracted to her.
Yes.
Because, like I said, it's the only victim's family member that he contacted.
Yes, that
So,
seems very likely.
yeah, it's disgusting.
That is disgusting, and
Yes.
they should limit. Hello, can we not limit their access to
Interaction.
the internet?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
monitor who they're talking to, see what
yeah,
their
I'm like,
searches are. You know, make it like that, like Disney Channel thing where you can only have like
a parental control.
yes, like
like
seriously.
yeah, because I
Yes.
think that's disgusting. I don't think that he should have been able to contact her at all.
No, man,
Like
that would
to
be
be to
so.
even be able to know that she had a daughter is odd to me.
Yeah,
Because she was 22 when he killed her, and
well, he might have seen her in court.
oh, maybe she would
I
have
don't
had to
know,
have been
but
very young.
I I I hope his life in prison has
Been miserable.
been rough.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, me too. Um, but it's so funny because I actually just stumbled upon him on accident. And I thought, oh my God, this is going to be a really good person for this podcast. So I hope you enjoyed that.
I did. Thank you.
You're welcome. I tried to do as much digging on this
Yeah.
guy as I could, because I feel like when we did our original podcast on lesser known serial killers, I didn't really have a lot of because I did mine on Albert Fish. I think was it Albert Fish?
Yeah, I did mine
It
on
was
the guy I
Albert
watched
Fish.
the documentary about.
What?
I did mine on somebody I'd watched a documentary about.
Yeah, see, because I had read about Albert Fish in a book, and he might have actually, now that I have a little bit more serial killer knowledge, he's not as lesser known as I thought, but I did it on him, and I feel like I didn't really have my thoughts in as much order as I would have liked to. So I
Well, you
worked
did
on
a
this
great
one.
job, Madison. I appreciate it.
Thanks. Of course.
I like having you here. We should do these more often.
Well, thanks. These are fun.
Yeah, I really enjoy having you on here. You're
Thank you. I
smart and
really
you're
enjoyed being
interesting
here.
and well
Oh my gosh,
spoken
keep
and
them coming. Keep them coming. I
and
can't.
you're mommy to my Lincoln.
No. Lincoln. Such a good
You're
boy.
also mommy to two other children, but I don't feel like I can say their
Yes.
names.
Well, I'm bonus mommy to two
Yes,
other
but I
children.
don't feel like
But
I can say their
out of
names on the
privacy,
internet.
yeah, out of privacy for their mothers, we won't mention them.
Yes.
But I do love them very much, and I actually get the youngest. We actually get them both this weekend.
Oh.
Yeah, we weren't supposed to have the youngest, but we ended up having the youngest. So I'm happy.
Oh, well good.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
So that's gonna be great. But Lincoln, oh my gosh, I'm starting to get laughs.
Oh, baby.
I know. I'm so excited, and he's recognizing Auntie Maya and Cody and I, and he just lights up. Lights up. And I was telling somebody at work, I thought, these are the moments that you don't realize that you needed until you have them.
Yes.
I just think, oh my God, I must have been really
sad,
miserable. Like, just sad. Like, my life just wasn't the same.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. That's why I had 4.
Yeah.
And every single time I thought the same thing.
Well,
anyway, I'm going to have to close out.
Okay.
So,
well, thanks.
I'd like
thanks
to
for having me on here.
Yes, I'd like to thank you for being on here. I appreciate it.
Of course.
I appreciate you taking part in the 31 days of Halloween.
Of course.
We have not. I have not.
Me and Halloween. It's my jam.
I have not told anybody what's been going on in the background here with me. So I'm going to do a video about that in November. But
okay.
Then they will know that it was a huge help for me that you did this. And
yes, and that you worked very hard on your 31 days of Halloween. So very hard. You put in a lot of hours during some rough times. So yes.
Yeah, thank you. So if you guys are not subscribed and you'd like to be, please push that subscribe button. Yes.
Dedication, like we were talking about.
Dedication.
It's a good quality.
It is.
Yes.
If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it. And if you would like to be notified when my content goes live, click that bell. Please go back through all the rest of the days of Halloween if you are here at the end and listen to all the other videos I have, because there's a lot of different content, and you might just find that you enjoyed it here. So thank you, Madison.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you guys for listening.
All right. Good
All
night.
right.
Good night, Madison.
Good night.